So some of you have been asking about how I made the dowel maker in my previous dowel making video. Well, it's so simple, I didn't actually make any video of that, so I'm going to make another one and show you. The key to making this work is preparing the stock right. So I cut some slightly over 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch pieces of square stock and then rounded all 4 corners with a 1/4 inch roundover bit on the router. So these dowel blanks are actually pretty close to round already, but they still need to be made fully round. So here's my old 3/8 inch dowel maker, and it's got a hole just over 3/8 of an inch, which then steps down to a 3/8 inch hole on the outside, and then I just have one side cut away for the chisel, and that's all there's to it. You really need to use a very close grained wood that slides easily so the dowel can turn easily. So for the 1/2 inch one, I'm going to use this block of maple. So here's my slightly larger drill. This one is 9/16, and I want to drill just a little bit more than halfway through the block, so about this far, and have the depth stop set. And now with a 1/2 inch drill, I'm going to drill all the way through. So on my old one, I've got this flat spot here for clamping the chisel on here, so I can cut tangentially to the actual dowel like a pencil sharpener. So I need to cut away a space here to put that chisel. So let's measure how far this hole is from the edge. And I want to set the fence on the table saw so that the blade will cut away exactly that much. So I've cut away most of that, but I didn't cut all the way onto it because I didn't want to hit the blade with the fence. So I'm just going to whack that out with a chisel. It's quicker than using a sacrificial fence. So with my cut, it turns out I already cut into the other hole here because I was actually meaning to be tangential with that hole eventually and cut deeper until I hit this hole here. But I've already hit that, so I think I'll be okay just putting the chisel on there, and I'll see what size dowel I'm going to get. Now the chisel needs to be razor sharp, so I'm just going to give this chisel a quick resharpening. So I just tried this out and just turning the dowel in here by hand. I'm finding this is too tight. So I need to put that chisel just a tiny bit lower to get it to cut enough. So it's taken a bit of tweaking to get this to work just right. First I had the chisel too far out, then I had it too far in and it would cut too small. So then I put a little paper shim in there to bring it back up a little bit. It's really tricky to get this just right. If the dowels coming out are too small, then they're loose in the hole, and if they're too large, they get stuck. So you have to have them just tight in there to get the dowels the right size. I'm having a hard time inserting these 1/2 inch blanks into my 1/2 inch chuck because they're just a bit oversized. So to make them fit, I can just start them on the dowel maker, just turning them in a few turns by hand. And that gives me enough for the chuck to grab onto. So here's my dowels. One thing you really have to watch out for is if the grain in the dowel is not straight, because that will cause it to split out. And you may have to cut a piece off just to start again. I also had a bit of trouble this time. I made a few dowels that are undersized, so I actually reduced those down a little bit to the next size.